Good morning, everybody. Cara and Ryan here. We're out this morning in the garden, ready to harvest a lot of stuff. The main thing we're harvesting today is onions. I always like harvesting the onions or anything you gotta pull out of the ground a little bit to see exactly how big it is. Last year we had a pretty good onion harvest. We filled up an entire wheelbarrow full of onions. I'll put a clip here of what the onion harvest looked like last year. We didn't plant nearly as many onions this year. I do still have some that I had chopped up and put in the freezer, but the onions this year so far, from what you can see above the ground, look like they bulbed out a lot bigger than a lot of the ones last year too.
This year we put all of our onions in raised beds. Last year we had some in raised beds, some in ground. A lot of the onions in the in-ground were very small. So I'm really excited for this year. They all look really big and they're all in the raised beds, so we're gonna keep doing that for sure.
Let's harvest some onions.
Yep.
We have two varieties of onions planted. We have candy onion and red candy apple onions, which is a red onion. And both of those onions I started from sets that I bought from Dixondale Farms. We're not sponsored by them or anything. It's just who I found online to order the onions through. I've been really happy with buying the onion starts and planting them that way. They seem to do a lot better than starting onions from seed ourselves, which we've done that in the past as well. We probably should have harvested our onions about a week or two ago. However, with the new baby being born, we just hadn't had a chance to get out here and to harvest them. So if you look at the tops of the onions, they're pretty brown and died back. Last year, I waited until they had just like flopped over and weren't completely brown. So we'll see how they do storage-wise comparative to last year. But so far, the onions look pretty firm. We'll keep you updated as we pull them out though.
These onions are kind of getting covered up by our tomatoes, but you can see here, these onions, the tops of them are very dried and brown, totally died back. They're looking really good. I mean, look at this one. Massive and looks really good. Over here is kind of a good example. This tomato plant here, we had all trellised up and we had onions right along the edge here. This space wouldn't be utilized with the tomatoes. It's a good place to plant onions. And it's right along that drip tape, so they get really good moisture.
Oh, you found a big one. Good job. Look at the tomatillo fruit right there. See the green one?
Oh, wow. Most of these onions are really big so far. We have a couple about that size, but those are very few are this size.
Oh, good job. That's a nice one.
We got stuff growing everywhere here, so we're digging through a maze of cucumbers and squash to get to our onions.
There's a lot of really big cucumbers on here that need to be harvested too. So that'll be the job for when the onions are done.
It's kind of cool. I mean, some of these are smaller, but you can plant a lot all in one space. Having the drip irrigation system just really allowed us to keep consistent water on. Because last year we were watering some, but we weren't very consistent with it at all. I like to see the fruits of our drip irrigation labor. So for this 3-foot raised bed, we have 2 runs of drip tape with emitter holes every 6 inches. So the onions were planted every 6 inches right along the emitter holes.
There's a link in the description to all the info on our drip irrigation system if you're interested in that as well.
This row seems to be slightly smaller. I think it's probably because they got shaded out more by all these squash and cucumbers.
Yeah.
I didn't do the best job at tying them up.
Wow.
We just finished harvesting the onions. We have a lot more to harvest in the garden, which we'll get to in a second. But I wanted to talk about the onion harvest before we harvest the rest of the stuff. This year, the number of sets or starts that I ordered from Dixondale Farm was approximately half the number that I ordered last year. However, our harvest is just about the same size. The wheelbarrow is almost completely full, just like it was last year. But the thing is that the onions are a lot bigger this year.
That just goes to show that, you know, having loose soil, having consistent water. We also put compost everywhere in all these beds. I think that played a big role in our harvest this year.
Yeah, we're definitely probably not going to go back to planting onions in in-ground space. That's for sure.
We'll take these and show you how we're going to cure them and store them after we finish harvesting some other things in the garden. So stay tuned for that near the end of the video. So we got a whole bunch of cucumbers here, and they're really large. So we're going to harvest a whole bunch of those, load them up in the wheelbarrow, and see if we can overflow this wheelbarrow. Good ones here.
Yeah, there's a bunch here just kind of hiding behind the vines.
Yep.
And we have a lot inside the house too.
And you saw our other video, we're coming up with some creative ways to use up all these cucumbers, so go check that video out.
We're probably just gonna have to take some of these to church and give them away.
Right? That would be the 6th way to use cucumber. If you saw our video, we have 5 ways to use cucumber, because you can eat them fresh, but you got to come up with creative ways if you have this many. But number 6 is take them to church, give them to other people.
There's a bunch more little cucumbers coming on too. Oh, we found more onions.
We have a whole nother row. We have a whole nother row. Wow. Put those in the wheelbarrow.
Oh.
Good thing we kept harvesting. We would have been missing onions. We probably would have found them tomorrow, or later today.
There's a big cucumber there behind those too.
Yeah? Wow.
We aren't exactly huge fans of pickles, but we do really enjoy eating cucumbers fresh. I've got our baby, and Ryan's got a cucumber baby.
What are you doing in the flower bed? Hi.
Harvesting some beets.
These are cylinder beets. They have a long tubular shape versus your traditional round beet. I love their vibrant bright red color, and the stems have that same bright color too.
is our setup for drying and curing our onions and garlic. We currently have the garlic over here curing. This is just the top of our chicken brooder box. It's removable, and we made it with the purpose of using it to cure things later on. It is basically just a wood frame with wire hardware cloth attached to the top of it. We have it elevated just on some blocks to allow airflow from the bottom as well. Last year we cured our onions and garlic just on a regular old table on the back porch, and that worked fine. Their onions and garlic lasted all year, and we've been using it here the last couple weeks too. However, having airflow from the bottom too will probably just help speed up the curing process, and hopefully they'll last even longer. So we have our wheelbarrow full of onions. I noticed last year that the red onions did not store quite as long as the yellow candy onion. Last year we actually did 3 different onion varieties. We did the red candy apple, candy onion, and I think the other one was Superstar, which was a white onion. And the white onion had the shortest storage life, followed by the red, and then the candy was the longest storage life. So bearing that in mind, as we're storing these, we'll probably use up the red onions a little faster than the traditional yellow onion. Got all the onions laid out, ready to cure, and so we'll just leave it here for several weeks to let the curing process happen, and that way they'll be ready to put into storage. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.